Hey, welcome to the Weekly Wave. Let's be honest, nutrition is one of those topics that everybody thinks they know, but very few actually understand. We've all heard conflicting advice. Carbs are bad. No, wait. Fats are bad. Actually, no, it's sugar. Or maybe it's seed oils. One day, coffee's the villain, and the next day, it's practically medicine. And somewhere in between, most of us are just staring at our plates wondering, am I really doing this right? Overall nutrition isn't about following the latest fad or memorizing every diet trend. It's about going back to the basics, understanding what your body actually needs, how food ultimately fuels you, and how small and consistent choices can really change your energy and your mood, and most importantly, your future. So let's strip away the noise and get back to the foundation of health. So why does food matter? Food isn't just fuel, it's really information. Every bite you eat is like data being uploaded into your body. Proteins, fats, carbs, and vitamins and minerals, they all send signals to your body, telling your cells how to perform. You upload the right signals, you feel energized, focused, and strong. But if you upload the wrong ones, you can feel really sluggish and irritable and maybe even sick or nauseous. Over time, poor nutrition doesn't just affect your waistline, it also affects your sleep, your immune system, your skin, and honestly, even how sharp your mind feels. And that's the first truth of nutrition. It's not about dieting for 6 weeks. It's about building a relationship with food that will ultimately sustain your life and your lifestyle. So we have the big three: protein, carbs, and fats. Let's break them down simply. What are they? They're macronutrients. Think of them as the 3 legs of a stool. Take one away and the balance gets really tricky. If carbs are fuel and fats are protectors, protein is the builder. Protein is made up of amino acids, often called the building blocks of life. They repair your muscles, support your immune system, build enzymes and hormones, and even help create neurotransmitters in your brain. When you think about energy, carbs and fats run the show. But when you think about structure, muscle, skin, hair, and nails, protein is king. One of the reasons protein gets so much hype is its impact on how full you feel. Gram for gram, protein keeps you fuller for longer. That's why high protein diets often lead to weight loss without people even trying. They naturally eat fewer calories because they're not constantly hungry. Protein also protects muscle mass, which is especially important as we get older and as we age. After the age of 30, the average person loses 3 to 5% of muscle mass per decade if they don't actively maintain it. Protein, paired with strength training, is how you fight back. Now, the sources. Animal proteins like chicken, fish, eggs, and dairy are complete, meaning they contain all 9 essential amino acids your body can't make on its own. Plant proteins like beans, lentils, nuts, and tofu are often incomplete. But by mixing them, like rice and beans, you can still get the full spectrum. So what's the key lesson? Protein isn't just for gym rats. I mean, it is important, but it's not just for them. It's for everyone, every day. Your body can't store it in the way that it stores carbs and fats. You need a steady intake to keep your machine running smoothly. Now, moving on to carbs. Carbohydrates are your body's preferred energy source. When you eat carbs, your body breaks them down into glucose, which fuels everything from your brain to your muscles. That's why people who go extremely low carb often report having brain fog or fatigue at first. Their body's adjusting to a new, less efficient fuel source. But here's where it gets interesting. Not all carbs are created equal. On one end, you've got the whole complex carbohydrates: brown rice, quinoa, oats, beans, fruits, and veggies. These are packed with fiber, vitamins, and minerals. They digest very slowly, keeping your blood sugar steady and giving you long-lasting energy throughout the day. On the other hand, you've got refined carbs: white bread, sugary drinks, pastries. These break down very quickly, causing blood sugar spikes, often followed by crashes. That's why you can eat a donut and feel amazing for like 15 minutes, only to feel drained an hour later. Carbs aren't bad, they're just misunderstood. They become a problem when they're stripped of nutrients and eaten in very large excess. But whole carbs, they're the foundation of sustained energy. That's why athletes load up on pasta before a big game, and why fiber-rich carbs are linked to better digestion, heart health, and even mood regulation. So what's the key lesson? Don't fear carbs, fear the imbalance. Moving on to fats. For decades, fat was painted as the villain. Low-fat everything filled the grocery store shelves growing up. Low-fat yogurt, low-fat cookies, even low-fat peanut butter. The logic was simple. Fat has 9 calories per gram, more than double carbs or protein, so cutting it should help with weight loss, right? But what actually happened? Food companies replaced fat with sugar, and honestly, the health outcomes got worse. The truth is, fat is essential in your diet. It cushions your organs, helps you absorb vitamins A, D, E, and K, and is critical for hormone production. In your brain, it's nearly 60% fat. Without enough healthy fats, your mood and focus, even your memory, can take a hit. Now, there are different types of fats. Unsaturated fats, found in foods like olive oil, nuts, seeds, avocado, and fatty fish, they're the stars. They're anti-inflammatory, heart healthy, and protective of your brain. Saturated fats, on the other hand, found in red meat and butter, aren't inherently bad, but too much of them can raise your cholesterol levels. And then there's trans fats, the man-made ones found in processed foods. These are the true villains. They're linked to heart disease and banned in many countries outside of the US. Fats give food flavor. They keep you satisfied and fuel long-term energy. If you've ever tried a super low-fat diet, you know the cravings can hit you hard. It's your body begging for balance. So what's the key lesson here? Don't fear fat. Embrace the right kinds and in the right amounts. So what does all this mean? It means that carbs, fats, and protein aren't enemies to each other. They're teammates. Each of them has a designated role, and the healthiest diets find balance rather than the extremes. Go too low on carbs and you're drained. Cut out fat and your hormones and brain suffer. Neglect protein and you lose muscle, strength, and resilience over time. Overall nutrition isn't about cutting everything out. It's about knowing what each macronutrient does and balancing them in a way that supports your lifestyle. Next, let's talk about micronutrients. These are the unsung heroes, vitamins and minerals. These don't get as much attention, but they're the fine print that makes everything work. Calcium for your bones, iron for your blood, vitamin D for your mood and immunity, magnesium for your muscles and sleep. These nutrients are like tiny workers behind the scenes, making sure the machine runs smoothly. Neglect them, and things start to break down slowly. You may not notice it at first. Maybe it's slow energy, maybe it's foggy focus, but over time, deficiencies can seriously impact your health. That's why whole foods matter, because they come packed with the spectrum of nutrients your body understands and knows how to use. Here's where it gets tricky though. Diet culture has overcomplicated something that should be so simple. Keto, paleo, vegan, intermittent fasting, the list never ends. Each promises the same ultimate solution, and each has people swearing it changed their lives. And sometimes they're right. But not because the diet is magic. It's because for the first time, almost ever, they started paying attention to what they ate. Overall nutrition teaches us this. There's no one-size-fits-all approach. Your genetics, your lifestyle, your culture, and goals all play a role. What works for your friend might not necessarily work for you. The key isn't restriction, it's awareness. Instead of obsessing over the latest trend, focus on principles. Whole foods over processed foods, balance over extremes, and consistency over perfection. Let's not ignore the emotional side, though. Food isn't just a science, it's culture, it's family, and it's comfort, and sometimes it's even coping. We celebrate with food. We grieve with food. We reward ourselves with food. That's why nutrition isn't about shame or guilt. It's about awareness. If you understand why you're reaching for something, you take back control. You're no longer eating on autopilot. You're making a choice. The most powerful part of nutrition is that small changes compound over time. Swap soda for water a few times a week. Add a handful of vegetables to your dinner. Choose whole grain bread instead of the white bread. These aren't radical shifts, but over months and years, they create momentum. It's kind of like the butterfly effect. Nutrition isn't about overnight transformation. It's about building habits so natural you don't even have to think about doing them anymore. Think of it like compounding interest in finance. Tiny deposits of good choices made daily create massive returns in the long run. Of course, modern life doesn't make it easy, right? Fast food is everywhere, time is limited, and processed snacks are often cheaper than fresh produce. But this kind of reminds us of one simple fact: convenience isn't always value. That $5 fast food combo might feel cheap now, but that cost shows up later in your health, your energy, and eventually medical bills. Cooking at home and prepping meals, or even just shopping more mindfully, is an investment in yourself. At the end of the day, nutrition isn't about perfection. It's about patterns. It's not about never eating dessert again. It's about what you do consistently day after day. Nutrition is about taking back the basics, eating whole foods, balancing your macronutrients, honoring your micronutrients, and building a relationship with food that's sustainable in the long term and not stressful. Because food isn't the enemy, it's the foundation. And when you learn how to use it, when you treat it as more than just something to fill your stomach, it becomes one of the most powerful tools you'll have in life. So maybe the best diet isn't the trendiest one. It's simply the one you can live with, and one that makes you feel, alive, and the one that helps you build a future worth showing up for. Thank you so much for listening.